Let's talk about the toolbar in Illustrator. Right now I have the full version of the toolbar. If you don't have the full version of the toolbar, go into the window menu, toolbars, and make sure your toolbar is set to be advanced. You want to see all the tools. As you go through, there are a lot of tools in Illustrator, and you're going to have a slightly different looking toolbar from time to time simply because you may go in and you may use a tool that has other tools that are nested in it, and nested tools are showing up here with that little triangle in the lower right hand corner of the tools. In order to go in and call up the different nested tools, you're going to click with the mouse and hold down on that tool. You get a flyout menu, and then you can go in and choose from all those nested tools. Okay? So your toolbar may look slightly different from mine simply because I have used different tools, and the last tool used is going to show up in the toolbar as the tool that's going to be top of that nested section. Now, hovering over these tools here, there are shortcuts. Shortcuts are essential for Illustrator if you want to become efficient and well-versed in using the tools in Illustrator. A lot of these shortcuts are going to be the same in InDesign and Photoshop and the other Adobe applications which you're going to end up using. So learning these shortcuts is a really good thing. There are also a lot of things in Illustrator that are only done with the shortcuts, and we're going to explain those as we go through. So very basic stuff. Hover over a tool. It's going to tell you what the tool is, and it's also going to give you a shortcut. Selection tool, which we use all the time. It's kind of like the fork. We eat with the fork. In Illustrator, if you want to do something, you're going to have to select it in order to be able to do something with it. You're going to use the selection tool. Next to it, we have the direct selection tool. We've got the magic wand tool, the lasso tool, the pen tool, the curvature tool, type tool, line tool, all of our drawing tools, our paintbrush, our shape builder, our eraser, rotate, skew, transform, scale. Yes, those are all nested inside here as well. Our with shape tool, which I call the chicken skewer tool right there, our free transform, our shape builder, our perspective grid, our mesh, gradient, eyedropper, blend tool, and all of our different symbol sprayers and stuff. A full chart making feature in here as well. Our artboard tool, slices, hand tool, zoom tool, fill, stroke, gradient, fill with nothing, draw inside, draw behind, and our different screen modes. Okay, really quick overview. But you'll notice that a lot of these have shortcuts associated with them. And when we go through these videos, I will tell you what those shortcuts are repeatedly, because the more you learn the shortcuts, the better you're going to be in creating with Illustrator. So anytime that you want to use a set of tools here, say drawing shapes, something that we do all the time in Illustrator, we're constantly creating shapes and lines. You'll notice that when I click and hold, I get my entire set of shapes flying out here. Well, going back to the toolbar, clicking and waiting for that to fly out again can be a little bit tedious. So Illustrator has this unique feature, one that I find to be extremely efficient, and I use this all the time. It's called the tear off. Click and hold on the tool. The panel will show all of the tools here. While you're holding the mouse down, go over to the right-hand side of that flyout. You see that vertical tab with the arrow. Move your mouse down. While you're holding your mouse down, select that tab, and you're going to get this tear off. And you can use this as a floating panel so that you have access to all those nested tools rather than having to dig through them in your toolbar every time you need them. I use this all the time for my shapes and all my lines, simply because there is so much that I need to do. I don't want to spend the extra time going back into the toolbar and having to dig through those particular files. And even though I use Illustrator all the time, I sometimes forget where things are nested. It's nice to have the tearouts here. If you close those tearouts by clicking on the X on the panel, these are just normal panels like all the other floating panels we talked about here. You can simply call them back, click and hold down your mouse button, go to the right-hand side, click on that vertical tab, you'll get a tear off, and you can move these around and snap them together like you want. You can't nest them like this because they don't have a name on the panel, but you can certainly go in and move them around, snap them to each other like that to have access to it. Super important. Now, getting around the entire document here. Hand tool, absolutely. Hand tool, so you can move this all around right there. Shortcut for the hand tool is the letter H. Okay? The other shortcut is going to be the space bar. I know. Say I'm doing something. I've drawn a shape right here, and I'd like to move this all around. I don't want to stop and go over and click on my hand tool or click on the letter H. I'm going to hold down the space bar. Yes, folks, the space bar. When you hold down the space bar, it's going to convert any tool that you have into the hand tool while you hold the space bar down. I know. Pretty awesome, isn't it? Yes, it is. Next is going to be the zoom tool. Zoom tool right here, the letter Z, absolutely. How to use the zoom tool? Well, I see a lot of people use the zoom tool by clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking, and their screen bounces all around. And the reason why is because every place that you click, you have then zoomed in, but that click point now becomes the center. So if it's going all over the place, it's all you. Now, clicking multiple times here is truly a waste of time. So what I normally do is I go in and I use the wonderful feature of the click and drag. So I take my zoom tool and I click and drag over what I want to make full screen, and it becomes full screen. Now, if you've tried that, your zoom tool probably has worked a little differently. And you've noticed that when you drag your zoom tool, by dragging it left and right, it makes it bigger or smaller. And the reason why is because under your preferences here, under our user interface or performance here, performance, you probably have animated zoom checked. If you have animated zoom checked, when you go in and you move your zoom tool left and right, you will be able to zoom in and zoom out. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the animated zoom simply because I've been using Illustrator ever since, the 1400s. So the zoom tool, I like to use the traditional way by simply taking and clicking and dragging over it and saying what I've selected or what I've gone ahead and defined, I want to make full screen. So if I go under Illustrator, Preferences, and I go under Performance here, the animated zoom is only that, is just simply the zoom tool. You can have it work manually like I just showed you, or the animated. I turn off the animated, so when I use the zoom, I can simply click and drag and make it full screen. Now it's big. What do I do? How do I make it smaller? Numerous different ways. Nice shortcuts. If you double click on the hand tool, you're going to fit your entire artboard to the screen. That's it, just double click right on the hand tool. If you double click on the zoom tool, everything is going to be 100%. Nice, huh? Larger or smaller, hand tool, fit to screen, zoom tool, actual size. If you go into the view menu here, you can also zoom in and zoom out. I'm on the Mac, so that little four-leaf clover is the command key. If you're on the PC, that's going to be Control. Control plus, Control minus, zoom in, zoom out. Fit the artboard in the window, Command 0. Fit all in window, that is Option, Command 0, or on the PC, Alt, Control 0. Okay, there it is. So Command plus makes it bigger, Command minus makes it smaller. Now, how does it know where to zoom? Whatever you have selected, that's where it's going to zoom in on. Okay? If you have nothing selected, it's going to just zoom in from the center of the screen, but if you have something selected and I use my Command plus or my Command minus to zoom in and zoom out, it's going to zoom in based on the object that I have selected. Pretty slick. Double click on the hand tool there, right back, and fits my entire artboard to my document. Okay? This is the reason why shortcuts are so important, because you can become extremely efficient. And if you think that's cool, try that in the other Adobe applications, because you know what, folks? It works there too. So, hand tool, zoom tool. Hand tool is the letter H. Zoom tool is the letter Z. You forget that, hover your cursor over here, and you can see exactly what it is that shortcut is. Some tools don't have shortcuts, okay? Not a big deal, but a lot of them do. So if you learn those shortcuts, that's going to be super handy, super helpful.